All right, one of the breakout sessions is Dr. Eric BERG. Is it still carnivore catering at NDSU?
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah,
it's still going.
Getting more and more requests every year?
Yeah,
or?
you know, the grad students run that now, and they use it as a way to fund some of the things that they don't get paid for, to travel to meetings and to publish papers and things like that. But we're getting fewer and fewer grad students. So America, send your kids to grad school at North Dakota State in the animal science department.
Yeah.
We look at reproductive physiology, meat science is what we're going to talk about today. So there you go.
Or come to the Peltier Center and spend a little money at the meat store.
Yeah, we've got, we're in our first year there, so we're open, beautiful retail space, lots of parking now. We even have dedicated parking spots where you can see our meat science logo, and you just park right there and come on in and take a look at what we got.
So what's happening at the beef, or at the, is it the pork?
Pork, I'm the pork.
Pork ribs breakout session here.
Yeah, so we're going to talk to folks about how to prep their spare ribs, their pork ribs. And we've got a few recipes here for some barbecue sauce and some rubs. I prefer the rubs over the sauce. I think sauce is what you put on your mistakes. So we want to enhance the flavor of the pork. So we've got some really good rubs here, and we'll talk about how to prep stuff. We'll talk about a method called 3-2-1. That's easy for people to remember. 3 hours of smoke, 2 hours of cooking, then 1 hour of, if you want to sauce it and keep it naked and crisp it up a little bit.
Do you have to buy a Traeger, or should you build your own smoker?
No, I know a lot of people that are very happy with the good old-fashioned Weber kettle. Yeah, they do well.
Yeah, that's all I've got is, it's not even a green egg, just a little black piece of tin, I guess.
But Traegers are nice. They're very versatile. You can do a lot of stuff. Then I kind of, when we half joke, it's kind of the easy bake oven of barbecue, so you can set it and let it go.
What's the best wood to use?
Oh, whatever you like. And a lot of people are really like, it's hardwood is best. I can tell you the worst wood is something that's sappy, like pine. So you don't want any of that soft wood that's going to give it a crappy flavor. So applewood, mesquite is very popular because it's a hardwood. Pellets like that, hemlock, they're good pellets.
Cottonwood, no.
No,
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, a lot of it falls down in my yard every year.
Russian olives?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never tried that. Yeah.
What is a little bit of those around?
Yeah, so. We've got a few out in the pasture.
Yeah. So show me what you got here, Eric.
I'll show you the actual deal. So here's our actual spare rib. That's what we're going to talk about today. And this is a full rack of ribs. Maybe most people, they get a St. Louis style, which means they just took the breastbone off. And yeah, we're going to get to that. And I got a crowd forming now.
Yeah.
So it's about time for me to start. Hey everybody, welcome. We can't do these things without sponsors, so I want to thank our sponsors today, who are New Era Enterprises, Top Pigs Norseman, Lang Ag Systems, and Green Bison Soy Processors. So, how many of you like pork spare ribs? Yeah? Can you point out where pork spare ribs are on this simulated pork carcass? Anybody want to run up here?
Right next to the bacon?
Pretty close, yeah. It's right on top of the bacon, actually. Nobody? You're all scared of me to come up here? So if we were to take this pork carcass apart, here's a bit of anatomy lesson. Yeah, I don't spray when I talk usually. And like Brian said, here we took this portion off that has the belly. That's the belly portion, and laying right in there is the thoracic vertebrae. So that's the rib cage. So if we take this out, here's our full rack of ribs, and you guys saw this is the actual rack of ribs from the other side. So they go there like that. And when you go to the grocery store, you can buy a full rack of ribs like this. And there's a couple of other types of spare ribs that maybe you've heard of. So there's a St. Louis style spare ribs. And what that means is this breastbone cartilage on young pigs, this is still going to be cartilage on the breastbone there. So at the base of all these ribs, it connects to the breastbone portion. And so we're just going to cut through that cartilage and remove these ribs. Now, some places can get extra value out of those. They call them ribbets. You ever heard of ribbets? So it's the riblets is kind of the technical name that the butchers call them. But we can smoke that, and you can have a kind of a mini rib out of that. So that's something that you can do if you're barbecuing a whole rack of ribs, is you could just cut that off after it's all cooked and give it to your favorite person, and they can have their own little special thing. So if the nice thing about turning it into St. Louis style is now I'm free to serve single rib portions. Okay, so this is all cut off, and now I can take 2 ribs at a time after I'm all done cooking. The biggest takeaway that I want you guys to get from here is there is one processing step that many people forget about. On the top of the bone side of the ribs, there's a membrane that's over here that holds everything on there. So you can take a butter knife, or if you haven't cut your fingernails in a while like me here, or, my mom would be ashamed. You can pull that membrane off. Okay? If you get a set of ribs from maybe a sow or an older animal, that membrane might be stuck on there pretty good. So you might not be able to get it off. So the next best thing to do is just kind of score that membrane on here, if you can't pull it off, because that membrane isn't going to render out, what we call render. So these muscles that are in between the ribs, they're not necessarily muscles of locomotion. These muscles that move this pig around for all of its life, that gets a lot more connective tissue in there. So think about the explosive nature of those muscles to move that animal forward. So that's why we barbecue at a lower temperature, is to break down that connective tissue. This connective tissue won't break down at a low heat. Okay? But the connective tissue between the ribs, these are very strong muscles. Think about when you cough and your ribs pull together. Very short contractile space. So we're going to cook that at that low and slow temperature. Okay? I've got that membrane off. Now I'm going to season. So I'm a rub guy. I like the seasonings of the rubs. I'm not much of a sauce guy. I think sauces are for your mistakes. That's what gravy is also for. So at Thanksgiving turkey gravy has saved my Thanksgiving dinner many times. Because even the meat doctor screws up cooking a turkey. You know, you cook it once a year, but I digress. So you want to rub that all down, okay? And there's a very important ingredient at my barbecue. You're probably going to, in your recipe, you're going to probably want to have 1 to 6 cans of beer involved, okay? And that goes in here, not on here. Right? So we're going to rub that down, and we're going to set it aside. And it's not that big of a deal if it's kind of out at room temperature for a while. And we call that, in all aspects, we're going to call that sweating it in. So this, you can take a picture at some of these rubs. This is the most basic rub we have. It's salt, pepper, garlic. And this is a great base for all of your other recipes. If you want it to be Italian, add some basil, add some oregano, maybe a little more garlic. Now you have an Italian rub. If you want it to be Mexican, add some cumin. If you want it to be Cajun, add some spicy paprika and some red pepper. But really we found this is all you need, especially on beef. So I'm going to season that in, and since it's heavy on the salt, that salt's going to penetrate into the muscle, and it's going to impart that flavor. So that seasoning is going to be really great. I've got some samples. This is my second favorite. This is called our firecracker rub, and the recipe is there. Unfortunately, I haven't cut that down, so if you follow that recipe, you're going to have 4 pounds of rub. So you're going to need a lot of ribs. But it's really good on pork loin. When we cater, we rub our pork loins down with this, so it's a sweet and kind of spicy. It's not too spicy, but it might be too spicy for your average North Dakota palate. But it's not that spicy, and it's delicious. Okay, brown sugar, and a little bit of red pepper and some ginger, and it's really tasty. And it's great on pork. So on our ribs, we're going to put that on there. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about if you've ever done ribs, you've heard of 3, 2, 1. So the 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour. So the 3 hours has to do with smoking. So that's smoking stage. So we're going to put our Traeger or have our smoker set at smoke, whatever your favorite hardwood is to smoke on there. I like apple wood. That makes a nice flavor. So you're going to smoke it at a temperature. You don't want to go above 225. So we want to keep that temperature low. If you get up above 300, 350, closer to 400, the connective tissue in between the muscle fibers is going to turn into a chain link fence. So it's not going to turn into delicious jello. That's what connective tissue, that's what jello is. It's just connective tissue that's been pulverized out, and then you use it to make jello. But by that low temperature during the smoking process, this is still relatively cool, so that smoke is going to penetrate in the lean side. There's really not much to trim up on spare ribs. If we were doing a Boston butt for pulled pork, we might want to take the external fat off. The connective tissue that was over the bones, the fat on a Boston butt, that fat isn't going to allow smoke to penetrate. So if you like the smoke flavor, you're going to want to expose more lean. We have no problem on ribs for that. So 3 hours of that. Now what I recommend is you get yourself a spritzer bottle, put about a small few ounces of Worcestershire sauce, and then apple cider vinegar if you like it more astringent, or if you like it, 4 minutes, or if you like it sweet, use just apple cider. And then every 30 minutes I spritz mine down. It's just to keep that moisture going, and it adds a little more moisture into your smoker as well. 3 hours of that, then you take them out and wrap them in tin foil. So let me back up. Your competitive barbecue guys will put parquet all over the inside. So you can use butter. I like butter better. So I put butter in there, wrap it up, 2 hours again at that 200 degrees. Because now I'm holding that moisture in there. I can go back to my 6-pack and finish that part of the recipe, and then let them go. Now that 1 hour, I think that's kind of optional because like I told you, I'm not a sauce fan, but during that 1 hour, when you unwrap them, people they'll coat it with sauce. They'll take one of those pastry chef brushes, coat it, they'll put it back on the grill and kind of sear it until that gets nice and sticky on there. It's delicious. I've got some good barbecue sauces. I like the Carolina white barbecue sauce. I wouldn't put that on for a cooking end product. It's just good to pour over the top afterwards. So I think I got about 2 minutes for questions. Anybody have any questions? Yes?
When you're picking out your spare ribs at the Sam's Club or wherever, is there anything to look for, or is there anything that you pick out special, or just grab them going off the top?
I look for meatiness. You know, I do. And bruises. So yeah. Sometimes there's just looking for them to be neat and meaty. Yeah. The third type of rib is the back ribs, and they come from right here, right off the loin.
Is one better than the other?
Cindy, these can be meatier. It depends on how good your butcher is, because if they leave some pork chop on there, that's kind of nice. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.